because it doesn't just stop at recognizing that race is artificial, because racism is real. And so I was taught that racism is over. That's what I was taught. I was taught that racism was over, and that segregation was over. And this is also in my poem. When I would go to the lunchroom and I would get my food and I'd turn around and I see all the racialized white people on one side of the cafeteria, all the racialized black people on the other cafeteria, and then like a smattering of of others who, of course, that was the group that I went to, because I was like, what is this? And yeah, I thought it was, I was told that it was over, but I kept seeing reflections of the legacy of that hierarchy and the enforcement of that hierarchy all around me.
Mm-hmm.
And so it created a lot of cognitive dissonance there. I couldn't really, because no one was acknowledging it. I also learned not to acknowledge it. And I learned that behavior that was not a good behavior. Because I would experience racism, and then I would just say, I would explain it away, and that's what other people would do. And it would stop me from getting opportunities. It would stop me from gaining money. Like, I've lost tens of thousands of dollars because of it, and so ultimately, it was important for me to remember to at least be aware of it so that I could at least prepare. I wasn't prepared for the level of intrusion into my journey that it would have. And I think that really did, in fact, hold me back, is that lack of preparedness, that lack of understanding of kind of what we were talking about earlier, right? Like how people help you move up the ladder, help you get opportunities, the networking aspect of things. Well, racism has played a devastating role in that. And I didn't realize what kind of role it played, to be honest. I had no concept of that. I was always taught that if you work hard enough, that you're going to get any opportunity, that you work hard enough for. And that was definitely not true. That was definitely false. Because someone gets to decide whether you have an opportunity or not, I found out. And that person can decide, based on exactly what you were saying. Just like in the hospital, if you check that black box, the doctor can decide that you don't need any pain medication, or that you may have a weapon on you, or any other number of things. All of which my people in my immediate family have experienced. It's no different, when I go to interview for a prestigious legal position, and, and I ask one of the people who interviewed me in the final interview about how I can improve for the future to get that opportunity. And they revealed to me that there's nothing that I could have done because these people had decided of who I was. And it had nothing to do with my presentation or anything else. And then I lost $33,000 because of that. So, having these things be revealed to me, I'm like, okay, so all that work that I did, what was, it is at this point actually meaningless because the opportunity is gone. It was a one-time opportunity that I spent months prepping for and working together with a lot of people to create. And that was the result. And everyone was kind of just like, oh, I can't believe you didn't get it. And then it was like, shrug and move on. But then for me, I still have to figure out how to move on from here. And that situation replayed itself in my life over and over again. And until I was forced to recognize it, basically. So while I understood the whole time about the artificial nature of race, I was under the illusion that racism and that discrimination and whatnot was pretty much a thing of the past, because that's how people were talking back in those times. And it's what I wanted to believe as well. I turned away an officer of the Office of Minority Affairs at my undergraduate institution. I actually laughed in his face, which I regret, because he was there to try to help me. And he said as much. And I was disgusted by it at the time. You know, why would you come here and single me out? Like as if I'm going to need this kind of help. But ultimately, he had information about the environment that I didn't have and that I wasn't open to even listening to at that time. And that was what I was trained to do, is to reject anyone who was affirming the idea that there was still racial animus out there, or that people might, actually stop you from getting opportunities because of your race. But then ultimately, I experienced so many incidents that I had no choice but to acknowledge it. And it was quite depressing, I have to say. But very important for me to recognize it. And it's really informed a lot of my decisions going forward. I think it's valuable information as well, just as much as the idea that race is completely artificial. Thanks for watching. For access to the full-length conversation and all of the 2-hour-long unedited conversations that I've had on race, click the support link in the description below. Thanks for your support, and see you next time.